A declaration was made on the 28th of October 1928 by young nationalists, which they proclaimed three main ideas: one motherland, one nation, and one language. Hello, my name is Heavenly Juanito Belmonte. I'm from Smanduach, Selatan, and today I'll be talking about one of the most pivotal histories that happened in our nation, Indonesia. Now, about 89 years ago, precisely on the 28th of October 1928, as many as 71 youth from all over the country unified and came together in a building on Jalan Kramat Raya in the Kuitang area of Jakarta. They pledged themselves as one homeland, one nation, and one language, that is, Indonesian. Now, this was indeed a very monumental pledge. As time passes by, and for the records of the Indonesian nation, this pledge later, 17 years later, gave delivery to the proclamation of the independence of Republic of Indonesia on August 17, 1945. This was a total critical second in Indonesian history. Looking return at the tough instances of the war for independence of this country, Indonesian youth fought so passionately for Indonesia's independence. They did not hesitate to do their best for their country, and we, their legacy, must continue their fight. Because the struggle did not stop when Maiden was already in our hands. There's so much work to be done for our country to develop and prosper. So what can we do? Before we dive into the question, I would like to explain and I feel like we need to understand who led all this. Well, there's a few. West Indonesia has the name Muhammad Yamin, born in the Lunto rice fields in western Sumatra. The young man represented the Jong Sumatranan Bond Youth Group in Sumatra. And to the eastern part of Indonesia, we find a young man named Johannes Lemena, who was born in the city of Ambon, Maluku, representing the Jong Ambon Youth Organization. There's also Kajang Sunkana from Madura and Cornelis Lefrant Sanduk, representing the Sulawesi Youth Group Jong Celebs. Indonesian youth and guests, you guys are probably wondering how did they communicate back then and how did they come together? How did they came so far apart and come together and unite? Well, back in the days technology was not as advanced as ours, so communicating was almost impossible. Well, it took several weeks to get to their city. Communication was still limited, relying on communication through the post office. The letter was sent today, a month or two later, then it could finally be opened and arrived at its destination. Not to mention the differences between religion and language. Muhammad Yaman was a Malay speaking Muslim, and Johannes Lemena is an Ambon speaking Protestant. Same goes with Kanjang Sukana and the other 71 youth participants in the Congress. They have different religion, ethnic, linguistics, and cultural backgrounds. However, this did not stop them. These barriers, these boundaries, are not an obstacle for an Indonesian youth to unite for Indonesia Great's ideal. Now, this is what we call daring to unite. Now, we have to understand how hard our fellow heroes had to go through. Now, we can finally go to the question on what we can do. Well, the first thing is we need to take pride in our country. We live in an era of globalization where cultures from all over the world mix with our own. Even young Indonesians these days have embraced this culture and left our culture behind. For example, the way you behave, the way you dress, and the way you think. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. Personally, I think there's nothing wrong with this. It's completely fine as people have their own human rights. But all culture is a valuable heritage. If we open our minds and just look closely, you'll then realize all culture is more sophisticated than others. Embracing a foreign culture is fine, but don't forget our hard earned culture. Young people these days have lost the spirit of unification under the influence of modern life. Young people are more individualistic and indifferent to the environment. creating this rift among young people. Moreover, now young people are passive and do not want to know about the development of our country. One example is not participating in local elections. Leaders who describe themselves as leaders were mostly elderly. On the other hand, if young people actively participate in politics in this country, it will bring out about many innovations in the development of our country. Now, Mrs. and noblemen, let's restore unity. The youth oath must inspire the formation of national collectives, consciousness in order to preserve the existence of young people in the world society, and to, of course, enhance their quality and competitiveness. Youth of global life still exist if they show independence in carrying out their duties and responsibilities. This was a pleasure to talk about this. My name is Heavenly. Thank you for sitting down here and taking your time to listen to me. And remember what we were always striving for. Kesatuan tanah air, kesatuan bangsa, dan kesatuan bahasa, yaitu Indonesia. Thank you and happy National Youth Day.